There's a feeling that visits you in the quiet moments. Maybe when you're trying to fall asleep or sitting in your car before an important meeting, or simply existing in the ordinary Tuesday afternoon light streaming through your window. It arrives without invitation, this electric current of unease that makes your chest tight and your thoughts race toward disasters that haven't happened yet. You know this feeling. The way it whispers, "What if?" until those two words become a mantra of worry. What if something goes wrong? What if you're not prepared? What if the worst-case scenario isn't just possible but inevitable? Your mind becomes a weather system you can't escape, with storm clouds gathering even on the clearest days. You scan the horizon constantly, searching for threats, preparing for emergencies that exist only in the theater of your imagination. If this sounds familiar, if anxiety has become your unwelcome companion, your overzealous guardian, your mind's attempt to control an uncontrollable world, then you're not alone in this storm. And more importantly, you're not powerless within it. Today we're going to learn not how to eliminate anxiety completely, but how to dance with it differently. How to find pockets of stillness within the chaos, and remember that you are larger than any storm that passes through you. Let's begin this journey together. Chapter 1. Understanding your anxious mind. In the Highlands of Scotland, shepherds have learned to read the sky with remarkable accuracy. They can sense a storm hours before it arrives, not through any mystical power, but because they've learned to recognize the subtle signs, the way light changes, how animals behave, the shift in air pressure that makes their bones ache. Your anxious mind works much the same way. It's constantly scanning, sensing, preparing for potential storms. But here's what's happened. Your internal weather system has become hypersensitive, detecting threats in every cloud, reading danger in every shift of wind. Anxiety isn't your enemy, though it often feels that way. It's your nervous system trying to keep you safe, but with the sensitivity turned up so high that even gentle breezes feel like hurricanes approaching. Think about it. Anxiety is fundamentally about time travel. Your body is here, in this moment, but your mind is living in a future that hasn't happened yet, experiencing stress from events that may never occur. You're feeling the racing heart of running from a tiger while sitting safely at your desk, experiencing the terror of falling while your feet are firmly on the ground. The amygdala, that ancient alarm system in your brain, can't tell the difference between a real emergency and an imagined one. To your nervous system, the presentation you're giving next week feels just as threatening as a saber-toothed tiger. Your body floods with the same stress hormones, prepares for the same fight or flight response. But here's something remarkable. Just as you can learn to read the signs of your anxiety, you can learn to influence them, not by forcing the storm clouds away, but by changing your relationship with the weather itself. There's a Zen story about a monk who was asked how he remained so calm during difficult times. He replied, "I have learned to cooperate with the inevitable." Anxiety often becomes more intense when we fight it, when we tell ourselves we shouldn't feel this way, when we add the suffering of resistance to the suffering of fear. What if, instead of fighting the storm, we learn to find shelter within it? Your anxious thoughts aren't facts. They're simply thoughts. They feel urgent and important because anxiety has a way of making everything feel like an emergency. But urgency isn't the same as truth. The thought, something terrible is going to happen, is just that, a thought. It's not a prediction, not a certainty, not a command you must obey. When you notice your mind spinning stories about the future, you can gently remind yourself, that's anxiety talking, not truth. That's my alarm system being overly cautious, not an accurate weather report. The goal isn't to never feel anxious again. The goal is to recognize anxiety as a visitor, rather than a permanent resident, a weather pattern rather than the entire climate of your inner world. Chapter 2. The Wisdom of Your Nervous System. In the Amazon rainforest, there exists a phenomenon called the Wood Wide Web, an underground network of roots and fungi that connects trees across vast distances. When one tree is attacked by insects, it can send chemical signals through this network to warn other trees, who then begin producing defensive compounds before the threat even reaches them. This is brilliant survival technology, this ability to sense danger and prepare for it. Your nervous system has its own version of the Wood Wide Web, a sophisticated network that's been keeping humans alive for millennia by detecting threats and mobilizing defenses. But what happens when this ancient survival system is running in a modern world where most threats aren't physical dangers, but social pressures, financial worries, and the complexity of contemporary life? Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a job interview and a charging mammoth. It responds to both with the same primal alarm. The result? You might feel anxious about things that aren't actually dangerous. A text message that takes too long to get a response, a change in routine, the possibility of making a mistake. Your wise body is doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect you. But it's like having a smoke detector that goes off when you burn toast. Understanding this can be profoundly liberating. Your anxiety isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that something is working exactly as it was designed to work. It's just calibrated for a different kind of world. There's a practice in somatic therapy called befriending your nervous system. Instead of seeing anxiety as something to eliminate, you begin to see it as information. What is your body trying to tell you? What does it think you need to be protected from? Sometimes anxiety is your body's way of saying, we need to slow down. Sometimes it's saying, this situation doesn't feel safe. Sometimes it's simply saying, we're carrying too much. We need to rest. When you start listening to anxiety as information rather than experiencing it as punishment, something shifts. You begin to work with your nervous system rather than against it. Here's a gentle truth. Your nervous system has been working overtime to keep you safe, often without any acknowledgement or gratitude. What if you started thanking it? What if you said, thank you for caring about my well-being. Thank you for trying to protect me. I see how hard you're working. This isn't about being grateful for suffering. It's about recognizing the love underneath the anxiety. Your nervous system's hypervigilance comes from a deep care for your survival, for your well-being. It's love in an anxious disguise. And just as you can appreciate your nervous system's dedication, you can also gently guide it toward more helpful responses. You can teach it that you're safe in situations where it thinks you're in danger. You can show it new ways to protect and care for you that don't involve constant worry. Your anxiety has wisdom. Learning to listen to that wisdom without being controlled by it is one of the most powerful skills you can develop for finding peace within the storm. If this message resonates with you, and you're seeking more moments of peace and insight, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for daily reflections rooted in ancient wisdom and modern clarity. Chapter 3: The Breath as Your Anchor. In the coastal villages of Japan, there's an ancient diving tradition called ama. Women who dive deep into the ocean to gather pearls and sea vegetables. These divers don't use oxygen tanks. They rely entirely on their ability to control their breath. Before each dive, they practice a specific breathing technique that slows their heart rate and calms their nervous system, allowing them to stay underwater for minutes at a time. What the AMA divers understand is something your anxious body needs to remember. Breath is the bridge between panic and peace. It's the one thing that's always with you, the one tool that can shift your entire nervous system from alarm to calm. When anxiety strikes, your breathing becomes shallow and quick, centered high in your chest. This sends a signal to your brain, emergency, prepare for danger. But here's the beautiful thing about breath. It's both automatic and voluntary. You can consciously change your breathing pattern and, in doing so, send a different message to your nervous system. We're safe, we can relax. Let me teach you a technique that the AMA divers would recognize, adapted for modern anxiety. It's called the 4-7-8 breath, and it's like having a reset button for your nervous system. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. As you breathe, you want the hand on your belly to move more than the hand on your chest. This ensures you're breathing deeply rather than shallowly. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for a count of 7. Then exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8. The exhale is the longest part, because the exhale is what signals safety to your nervous system. Do this 3 times, and notice what happens in your body. You're not trying to eliminate anxiety completely. You're simply creating space around it, giving yourself room to breathe within whatever you're feeling. But breathwork isn't just about emergency interventions. It's about building a different relationship with your body throughout the day. There's a practice called conscious breathing, where you periodically check in with your breath and adjust it gently. Right now, as you're reading this, notice your breathing. Are you holding your breath? Breathing shallowly? Many people with anxiety develop a habit of chronic breath holding, as if they're constantly preparing for impact. What if you gave yourself permission to breathe fully, to let your belly expand with each inhale, to let your shoulders drop with each exhale? This simple act, breathing as if you're safe, can be revolutionary for an anxious system. There's also a beautiful practice called breathing with, rather than breathing through, difficult emotions. When anxiety arises, instead of trying to breathe it away, you can breathe with it. Acknowledge its presence. Hello, anxiety. I see you there. Then breathe gently, not to eliminate the feeling, but to create space for it. This is what the Ama divers understand about the ocean. You don't fight the water. You learn to move with it. You don't battle the depth. You learn to trust your ability to surface. Your breath is your guide back to the surface, your reminder that you have everything you need within you to navigate even the deepest waters. The ancient Sanskrit word for breath is prana, which means life force. Every breath is a reminder that you're alive, that you have this moment, that right now, in this instant, you are okay. Your breath has been with you since your first day on this earth, and it will be with you until your last. In a world where so much feels uncertain, your breath is your constant companion, your reliable anchor in any storm. Chapter 4: Practical Tools for Daily Peace. The Whispered Truth Technique. Anxiety often yells in our minds. This practice is about replying in a whisper, not literally, but with a quiet inner truth. How to practice? When anxiety says, "Something terrible will happen," pause. Gently respond, "That may be, but right now I am safe." Whisper these truths like you're comforting a frightened child. Repeat softly, "This moment is enough." Or, "I've survived every anxious moment so far." The goal is not to argue with anxiety, but to bring in a gentler voice, one that's kind, calm, and true. The memory stone ritual: carry a small, smooth stone in your pocket. It becomes your anchor of safety. How it works: whenever you feel overwhelmed, hold the stone and recall one memory where you felt strong, calm, or deeply loved. Replay that scene with as much vivid detail as possible. Let the stone become infused with that memory over time, so just touching it becomes a reminder, "I have been okay before. I can be okay again." It's like keeping a talisman of resilience with you. The kind stranger exercise. This flips your anxious perspective outward and activates empathy. Steps: notice someone around you, on the street, in a cafe, even online. Imagine, maybe they're also carrying anxiety today. Silently wish for them. May you be free from fear. May you find ease. Do this with 3 strangers per day. Shifting from self-focus to shared humanity can dissolve the tight grip of anxiety and return you to presence. The body clock scan. Our bodies often tense in predictable rhythms. This technique helps you track your internal cycles of anxiety. How to do it: pause every 3 hours to check your inner clock. Ask, "Where is my tension now? Neck, jaw, gut?" Visualize that area as a clock hand slowly turning from tension to release. With each exhale, move the hand closer to rest. Over time, you'll notice patterns and build in resets before anxiety spikes. The "if I were my best friend" practice. This disrupts harsh self-talk by invoking your inner ally. Try this journaling prompt. If my best friend were feeling exactly what I feel right now, I would tell them. Then actually write it down. Now reread your response. That compassion is meant for you. Use it. The anxiety weather report. Instead of fighting feelings, report on them neutrally like a weather anchor. Example: today's internal forecast shows mild dread with scattered worries about the future, a chance of overthinking. Around 3 p.m., clearing later in the evening. You're not in the storm, you're observing it pass. This adds distance between you and the emotion, reducing identification and increasing self-awareness. The micro-choice check-in anxiety can make you feel powerless. This reminds you that you always have a choice, even tiny ones. Ask yourself throughout the day, what's one small choice I can make right now? Sit or stand, tea or water, breathe deep or shallow. Honor that decision. Every micro-choice is an act of reclaiming agency. These practices are not fixes, they're companions. They're not about silencing anxiety, but about relating to it differently. About growing stronger not by force, but by presence, compassion, and creative inner response. Chapter 6. Living from peace rather than anxiety. There's a story from the Hasidic tradition about a rabbi who was known for his extraordinary calm, even in the most challenging circumstances. When asked for his secret, he replied, "I have learned to live from my center rather than my circumstances." This is perhaps the ultimate invitation in working with anxiety, not to eliminate difficult circumstances, but to discover the part of you that remains peaceful regardless of what's happening around you. This center exists within you right now, beneath all the worry, beneath all the racing thoughts, beneath all the what-ifs that have been running your life. Living from peace rather than anxiety doesn't mean you never feel anxious again. It means that anxiety becomes a visitor rather than the landlord of your inner life. It means you can feel anxious without being anxious, experience worry without being controlled by it. The shift from reaction to response anxiety often makes us reactive. We feel the surge of worry and immediately start trying to control, fix, or escape whatever triggered it. But between the trigger and your action, there's always a space. In that space lies your power. The practice is learning to widen that space, to pause before anxiety sweeps you into its current. When you feel that familiar surge of worry, you can take a breath and ask, what does this situation actually require of me? What would a response from my wise, centered self look like? Sometimes anxiety's message is worth listening to. Maybe you do need to prepare more for that presentation or have that difficult conversation. But often anxiety's solutions, catastrophizing, controlling, avoiding, aren't actually helpful. Learning to discern between anxiety's wisdom and anxiety's reactivity is a crucial skill. Embracing uncertainty as a teacher. So much of anxiety comes from wanting to know how things will turn out, wanting guarantees that everything will be okay. But life, by its very nature, is uncertain. The future is unknowable. Control is largely an illusion. What if, instead of fighting uncertainty, you began to see it as one of life's greatest teachers? Uncertainty teaches you to be present, because this moment is the only one you can actually influence. It teaches you to trust your ability to handle whatever comes, because you've handled difficult things before. It teaches you that peace isn't dependent on having all the answers. There's a meditation on uncertainty where you practice saying, "I don't know what will happen, and that's okay." Feel what happens in your body when you say these words. Notice if there's resistance and breathe with that resistance. Over time, you might discover that not knowing can feel spacious rather than frightening. The practice of accepting what is. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on making positive changes in your life. It means stopping the exhausting fight against reality as it currently exists. When anxiety arises, instead of immediately trying to make it go away, you can practice saying, "This is what I'm feeling right now, this is what's here." Acceptance paradoxically creates the conditions for change. When you stop using all your energy fighting what is, you have energy available for responding wisely to what's needed. Living in alignment with your values. Anxiety often pulls us away from what matters most to us. We avoid social situations because of social anxiety, even though connection is important to us. We procrastinate on creative projects because of perfectionism, even though creativity feeds our soul. We say yes to things we don't want to do because of people-pleasing anxiety. Living from peace means making choices based on your values rather than your fears. It means asking, what matters most to me in this situation rather than, what will minimize my anxiety? This doesn't mean ignoring anxiety or pushing through it recklessly. It means consulting your anxiety as one voice among many, but not letting it be the only voice that gets to vote on your life decisions. The ripple effect of your peace. Here's something beautiful. As you learn to live from peace rather than anxiety, you naturally become a calming presence for others. Your nervous system learns to regulate itself, and regulated nervous systems are contagious. People around you begin to feel safer, more at ease. This isn't about being responsible for everyone else's emotional states. It's simply recognizing that peace, like anxiety, ripples outward. Every moment you choose calm over chaos, presence over worry, wisdom over reactivity, you're contributing to a more peaceful world. Trusting your capacity to handle life. Perhaps the deepest healing happens when you begin to trust yourself again, to trust that you can handle whatever life brings, that you have inner resources you haven't even discovered yet, that you're more resilient than your anxiety believes. This trust isn't based on having all the answers or never making mistakes. It's based on recognizing that you've been navigating life's challenges all along, that you've survived difficult things before, that you have wisdom and strength even when you can't feel them. The long view. Living from peace is a practice, not a destination. Some days will be easier than others. Some situations will trigger old patterns of anxiety, and that's okay. Healing isn't linear, and growth happens in spirals rather than straight lines. The invitation is to be patient with yourself, to celebrate small victories, to remember that every moment you choose peace over anxiety is meaningful, even if it doesn't feel like dramatic progress. There will be storms, both external and internal. But now you know something you didn't know before. You are larger than any storm that passes through you. You have an inner sanctuary that no external circumstance can destroy. You have breath and awareness, and the capacity to respond rather than react. You are not your anxiety. You are the peaceful awareness that can hold space for anxiety, for worry, for uncertainty, for all the human emotions that make up this beautiful, complex experience of being alive. From this place of peace, from this center that cannot be shaken, you can meet whatever comes with grace, wisdom, and an open heart. This is your birthright, your natural state, your way home to yourself. The storm may be passing through, but you, the essential you, are safe. You have always been safe. And from this safety, this peace, this center, you can live a life of courage, connection, and authentic joy, regardless of what weather patterns move through the sky of your mind. Welcome home to the peace that was always there, waiting patiently for you to remember.